There are two ways of judging the African lion. The first way is to judge it with what I was expecting versus what we were given, and the other way is to judge it as just a quality documentary. This is a Disney documentary, originally released in 1955, directed by James Algar and narrated by Winston Hibler, and it's got 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, which I think is slightly higher than I would have rated it myself, and that's because it didn't exactly meet my expectations. I sat down to watch this, well, partly because I'm working my way through Disney's catalogue, but also because I love lions. I'm a big fan of big cats, and I was really looking forward to this I think it's about an hour and 10 minutes long documentary about lions. And what we were given is maybe half an hour of footage of lions and half an hour of other animals. Animals the lion interacts with, animals that exist in the same environment, and that's really interesting. But that's not what I was expecting. And that means that I didn't love it as much as I perhaps could have done. If it had been called, I don't know, The African Wildlife, not a brilliant title, but if it had been called that, I would have maybe went in expecting something different. But it definitely isn't a documentary just about the lion. And it's not even so much a case of, well, here are animals the lions interact with, so we need to tell you about them. There are other animals that we never see the lion interacting with, and we never really find out what their relationship would be like if they came face to face. So it's kind of just providing more information, which again is interesting, but not what the documentary was being marketed as. That being said, I quite liked it. So the lions themselves, we do get to see, as I said, I think about half an hour, give or take. It felt like about half of it, and we get to see them. They're described as being very lazy creatures, which I never thought about. But then, when I actually stopped and thought about it, yeah, most times I've seen footage of lions, they are lolling in the heat. And they're absolutely adorable. And there are some little lion cubs, and it is so precious. And then I'd say maybe 10 or 15 minutes towards the end, things get bloodthirsty. Up until that point, it had been pretty tame, but then we get to the part of the nature documentary where you have to see nature doing what nature does, and what nature does best is feed itself. And it does get a little bit graphic, not horrifically so, but it is, not for the faint-hearted. So the lion aspect I really enjoyed. I just felt like there wasn't enough of it for it to be called an African lion documentary. The rest of the animals were actually really interesting. There were hippos, and I think there were rhinos, definitely a lot of elephants, a lot of really great facts about elephants, brilliantly narrated, of course, very clear narration with easy to digest information. Yeah, we learned a lot about elephants. There were zebras, giraffes, a lot of antelopes, and antelope-esque animals. And we got to see a lot of them really close up. Some brilliant shots. Some beautiful shots of the animals. I don't know what lenses they were using. If anybody knows, I'd love to know where I can find out what cameras they were using to film this. But we do get some really stunning shots. There weren't that many shots, having said that, where I kind of went, wow, that was amazing. Aren't we lucky to have seen that? I do feel lucky to have seen the documentary, but, I was watching a couple of other Disney documentaries before this one, The Vanishing Prairie, and another one, the name of which I can't remember, but they both had some shots in where I genuinely went, wow. This one, there was one shot of an antelope leaping in the air, which was absolutely stunning. But generally, although there was a shot of a lioness dragging a carcass, which I did think was actually a pretty incredible shot because it just shows the rawness of nature, and that I did like. Although there was one moment that I loved, and we see these baby warthogs. I'd never seen a baby warthog before. And we see these baby warthogs scurrying after its parent and after their parent, and it was just absolutely precious. So there was a lot in this that was visually interesting, but maybe just not quite as jaw-dropping as some other previous Disney documentaries. And because it's kind of false advertising, because it wasn't just about the African lion, it wasn't even just about animals connected with the African lion, it wasn't completely what I was expecting, or indeed what I was in the mood for. Nevertheless, it was beautiful. It is worth watching. And just bear in mind that when you go into it, you're getting maybe less than half of the documentary is about lions. I don't know if that's fair, but that's certainly what it felt like. But it's still worth watching, and I did really enjoy it. And I do think that It's actually educational and informative and entertaining for the right reasons. The African Lion is still one that I'd say is worth watching.